Um, Figured I'd read a story about unity and a coalition, building a coalition instead of being divided, especially more so economically, because I feel like we're losing the plot. Like I can't work with somebody because they don't identify with so and so. When we're fighting the establishment and we have to deal with the establishment, living biologically and identifying with someone, unless it's done by economic means, ain't gonna really work. We need to build a coalition. So I figured I'd read a story by, it's from the Two Stalinist Parables. Two Stalinist Parables. And it's the story of Jim from You Cannot Kill the Working Class by Angelo Herndon, 1937. And this is Angelo Herndon. I remember especially one white worker, a carpenter, who was one of the first people I talked to in Atlanta. He was very friendly to me. He came to me one day and said that he agreed with the program, but something was holding him back from joining the Unemployment Council. What's that, Jim? I asked. Really, though? I didn't have to ask. I knew the South and I could guess. Well, I just don't figure that white folks and Negroes should mix together, he said. It won't never do to organize them in one body. I said, look here, Jim. You know that the carpenters and all the workers get a darn sight less pay for the same work in the South than they do in other parts. Did you ever figure out why? He hadn't. Well, I said, I'll tell you why. It's because the bosses have got us all split up down here. We Southern workers are as good fighters as there are anywhere, and yet we haven't been able to get equal wages with workers in other places, and we haven't got any rights to speak of. That's because we've been divided. When the whites go on a strike, the boss is calling the Negroes to scab. When the Negroes strike, the boss is calling the whites to scab. Did you ever figure out why the unions here are so weak? It's because the whites don't want to organize with the Negroes, and the Negroes don't trust the whites. We haven't got the simplest human rights down here. We're not allowed to organize, and we're not allowed to hold our meetings except in secret. We can't vote, most of us, because the bosses are so anxious to keep the Negroes from voting that they make laws that take this right away from the white workers too. We Southern workers are like a house that's divided against itself. We're like an army that goes out to fight the enemy and stops on the way because its men are all fighting each other. Take this relief business now, I said. The commissioners tell the whites they can't give them any more relief because they have to feed so many Negroes, and the Negroes ought to be chased back to the farms. They turn around and tell the Negroes that us off and get us scrapping with each other. Now, suppose the white unemployed and the Negro unemployed all go to the commissioners together. Now, suppose the white unemployed and the Negro unemployed all go to the commissioners together and say, we're all starving. We're all in need. We've decided to get together into one strong, powerful organization to make you come across with relief. Don't you think that'll bring results, Jim? I asked him. Don't you see how foolish it is to go into the fight with half an army when you can have a whole one? Don't you think that an empty belly is a pretty punk exchange for the honor of being called a superior race? And can't you realize that as long as one foot is chained to the ground, the other can't travel very far? What happened to Jim? Jim didn't say anything more that day. I guess he went home and thought it over. He came back about a week later and invited me to his house. It was the first time he'd ever had a Negro in the house as a friend and equal. When I got there, I found two other Negro workers that Jim had brought into the Unemployment Council. About a month later, Jim beat up a rent collector who was boarding up the house of an evicted Negro worker. Then he went to work and organized a committee of whites and Negroes to see the mayor about the case. Today, today, today it's the black working across town. Tomorrow it'll be me, Jim told the mayor. There are a lot of Jims today all over the South. We organized a number of block committees of the unemployment councils and got rent and relief for a large number of families. We agitated endlessly for unemployment insurance. In the middle of June 1932, the state closed down all the relief stations. A drive was organized to send all the jobless to the farms. We gave out leaflets calling for a mass demonstration at the courthouse to demand that the relief be continued. About 1,000 workers came, 600 of them white. We told the commissioners we didn't intend to starve. We reminded them that $800,000 had been collected in the community chest drive. The commissioner said there wasn't a cent to be had. But the very next day, the commission voted $6,000 for relief to the jobless. That's what you call building a coalition to get things done. And that was in 1937. We need a coalition. Not being divided, not this petty nonsense. We need true coalition. Let's reach across and get things done. Paul Greene-Dennis out.